Hey, everybody. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Harriet Kemick with Down to Earth. It's the show in which we talk about the issues that matter. And if I sound excited this morning, it's because it's Juneteenth. It's on this day in 1865, June 19th, 1865, that slaves in America were officially freed. Uh, this, though, was 2 years after it was done. That was just when it was officially done in Texas. So I know you've heard a lot about Juneteenth in the last couple of days, and the president is trying to take credit for it. No, that is too disingenuous, and I would expect that a man of his stature does not need to fake stories or to tell lies to make himself appear to be greater than he is. I really don't think so, Mr. President. Juneteenth has been around, but I have a special guest, and we're going to talk about it. She's a former school principal, and she has a doctoral degree in education. So she's going to tell us some more about why. Just tell us why this was not taught in schools. My daughter has a law degree, attended three universities, one for her bachelor's degree and two for her law degree, and did not know about Juneteenth until a couple of days ago. Was not taught in law school, in history, in any textbook she has read. I have seen some of her legal textbooks, and they're this thick. Juneteenth is not mentioned. She also didn't know about Black Wall Street because this is not something that is taught in the American educational system. Why is Black history not a part of it? According to my daughter, she says that it's so whitewashed that you would think that Black people kind of gave themselves up to be oppressed. And afterwards, then came Martin Luther King, and then, civil rights, and now everything is just hunky dory. She says that's how Black history is presented. There's no telling of where Black people came from. But there's a whole lot of telling around European history. There's a whole lot of telling about how the dynasties appeared in Europe. But there's nothing about where Black people in America came from. So we have a lot to talk about. And those questions that need answers and those situations are contributing factors to why we have seen this disconnect and this sort of disparity that we have seen now with the coronavirus and education. So today I have as my special guest. I'm so proud of this woman. I'm so proud when I read her biography. If she could have seen me, she would have probably been high five. I was over here high fiving her virtually because when I read her biography, I was so inspired. She makes me feel like I haven't done anything and I haven't even started. Her name is Dr. Roma Benjamin. She's a pastor. She's an empowering woman speaker. My God, someday I'm going to have her on. She's a mother and she's a community leader. She lives in Pennsylvania, but here's the thing. She's from Tulsa, Oklahoma. And she is going to tell us as a community engager and as she sounds like she's a civil rights icon, doesn't she? Because she's leading the community and trying to bring more and reduce the disparities in education and to bring more of the community together to engage on the issues that matter. I love this woman, Dr. Roma Benjamin. You're my hero. Hey, girl, you're my hero, sister. You're my hero.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's so good. Thank you so much for having me on and to, just have such a great conversation. And I'm actually from New York. I'm a New Yorker, and I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma for 12 years. So I do know the history of Black Wall Street and had a chance to get involved with some things in Oklahoma. I did get understanding of Juneteenth and the purpose of it because we celebrated it all the time. I didn't realize that it was something that was not taught across the board. I didn't realize that.
Wow.
And it's really funny. It's not in the history book, so you don't have to look any further. It's not in the history book. In the public school setting, it's not in there. And I believe you. The question you asked when you said your daughter was explaining some things, even in her law degree, and I have a variety of degrees as well. It's all in education. And I'm a very avid reader. I'm even reading things now, dealing with, I'm reading a book right now called White Rage, the Black author.
Mm-hmm.
That wrote this book. And
Mm-hmm.
And in a sense, we just allow it to happen because it's been such a tremendous fight. Like when, as an administrator, as a teacher, as a principal, when they bring in series of books that they're going to pilot stuff, they here's the process. And I'm a I'm one of those radical ones.
Hey.
They say they pilot it, they give it to teachers, and they say teachers, use this. We're gonna pilot this for a certain amount of time, and then we're going to see whether or not we're going to adopt it or not. Let me tell you, they got hundreds and hundreds of books sitting in districts that they've never used because teachers really don't. Now, I'm not trying to beat up teachers, but if it's like the shoe fit, you just have to wear it. Teachers really don't teach it. They don't read it. They don't go through it. They don't analyze it. They don't break it down. So they just say it's okay. Then those in leadership, they didn't read it. They didn't break it down. They didn't see what was in there, whether or not it was truth or whether or not it was equity or balance in it. And so they end up taking books and Pearson and McCall and all the, they just take this popular name and they push it in the system and they push it, it's pushed down the throats of the children. And then the children have to believe what they hear because if you keep teaching it over and over again, you're going to believe it. And that's one of the main reasons why I left the public school system because I knew that they were promoting failure and calling it success. I couldn't any longer partake in that because you're telling me that a child attended school from kindergarten to 12th grade and still can't read. So if they can't read, they don't know that the information in the book is incorrect. If you don't have proactive teachers and administrators and superintendents, then the information in the book continues to be perpetuated. And I think you said your daughter said, well, black people is kind of like Gail. She said, oh, well, she sums up pretty good because parents don't question it either. Then when the other parent that question it, they want to tag that parent as a problem.
As an angry black parent. Yep, been there.
Angry black, and it's usually a mom. Nothing against, man, I have a son and I have a grandson. I grew up with 6 brothers and 2 sisters and a mom and a dad. So men is prevalent in my family. Nothing against the man, but usually the woman is more involved. And so when the woman comes in and says, like my mother did with my sons and said, with my brothers and said, I put my son in sharp and mechanic. You're going to put it in their man's clinic.
Hello, been there. Sounds like me. Been there.
That's what my mom said.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, you're labeled as the angry black woman, but no, we're not the angry black people. We just are tired of the stuff. And we have seen it happen so much. I've seen so much, Harry, that sometimes I'm so angry. I'm supposed to be crying many a night. Many a night crying out to God.
Jesus.
What am I supposed
to do? Are you too? Oh my God. Please tell me somebody. It's nice to know that because I have the same issues. I mean, I go to bed at night and I'm like, Lord, what am I to do now with this? What do I do with this? Where do we take this? This is why I'm just going to be honest with everybody and be transparent. This is why I have a podcast called Down to Earth, because I could not contain this anymore. The injustice was too great. It wasn't just enough for me to write about it. I had to talk about it. And for years, I stepped away from this issue of civil rights. I talked about women's rights. I talked about ending violence against women and girls. I talked about human trafficking. But I never put my foot in this because I shook my head like, no, I'm not going to touch this one. I'm going to leave the boys to deal with this. But then they weren't grappling the situation well. They weren't stepping into it well. They weren't touching and shaking the waters well. And now we have this problem because I think maybe black men are just tired. They're tired of being pulled over and brutalized. They're tired of being labeled the angry black man if they speak up. Did you see the interview? They published an interview with Michael Strahan this week. And he said he's inferring that one of the reasons why he left Kelly and Michael live with Kelly Repo was because he felt distance. He couldn't speak up because had he spoken up, he would have been called the angry black man. So as you say, Dr. Benjamin, it's left to us, the moms, because the men are always labeled the angry black man, the violent black man, because he chooses to speak up against the injustice. Rashard Brooks was shot in the back because he objected to being taken down to the police station for something he didn't do. He's dead. So black men, the more violence that is perpetrated against them, is the more they hesitate to speak up. But that time is over because now that we're getting empowered again.
Right. And think of the violence. When you talk about that, I'm an educator to the core. And so my passion and my drive is for we give a term quality education, but
Hmm.
it's not equality.
Hmm.
We say we're giving your children a quality education because we're indoctrinating them with stuff that's not going to benefit them in the long run. We call
Hey.
that quality,
Hmm.
but it's really not equality. You know, so when you think about it, when you think about the Terry, think about this. 40% of learning, children lose 40% of learning even over the summer vacation.
Right.
Let's just move COVID-19 out for a minute.
Yeah.
So over the summer, students lose 40% of learning because it was why would that happen? You know, I love to learn. So when I was growing up, learning was
Mm-hmm.
all the time for me. It wasn't just
Mm-hmm.
during the 9 months I was
Mm-hmm.
home,
Mm-hmm.
the 7 hours. It was all the time. And we had
Right.
parents who pushed us, especially my mom. My
Mm-hmm.
dad was required to us, but he never stopped us from getting what we needed. He pushed us in it. But it's amazing to me that 40% of learning is lost because it's not engaging. It is not really important because it's stuff that's not going to benefit the child in the long run. It's almost as if we're teaching our children just to simply be factory workers because we know as technology advances and advances, the factory workers are the first to go.
My God.
You understand? It's still a
Oh.
form. It's still a form of slavery. It's still a form of looking at, well, how do I hold this down? Now, the greatest thing that ever happened with
Mm-hmm.
our ancestors, they said, if you did anything else, learn how to read.
Mm.
Because if you can read, you can make it in life, you can navigate through life's situations and circumstances. But that was lost in the message. The reason why it was lost in the message because we've never really questioned whether or not, a child was able to read
Mm-hmm.
before they got out of the third grade.
Wow.
So when we started talking about prison to school to prison
Mm-hmm.
being
Mm-hmm.
the third grade, your child takes a standardized test. Standardized meaning they should have the standard information they need to pass that test.
Ooh.
That's what standardized. The standardized test is information that you're supposed to have. Now, imagine if it was entrenched in our history, if it was entrenched in reading and making sure that a child could read, just like Marley Collins. Imagine if it was entrenched with hands-on and with technology. Imagine if we had history, Black history, whatever we want to call it, throughout the year and not just in the month of February, the shortest month of the year, and we call that Black history.
Mm-hmm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And if we had history that was then, that is now, and that is to come, because that's what history is. History is past, history is present, and history is future. Imagine if we had all of that connected and we gave our children, African American or whoever, and we had the right people doing it. We had teachers who were engaged, not teachers who take an education degree and can't teach read. How do you get an education degree? And you're in a kindergarten class and you can't teach the kindergarten how to read.
Wow.
And the kindergarten still are past the first grade. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
It's criminal in the least to say. So the kindergarten kids could read, but you just asked them
Mm-hmm.
because you said they would be too old to stay in the kindergarten opposed to going to the first grade.
Wow.
So these are the systems. That's why we call them systematic. That's why it's systemic in its roots because it was designed to cause us not to realize
Jesus.
who we really are and who we really are and what we can do in life. Imagine if we're talking about COVID-19.
Right. Right.
And what it has its effect on education. What's crazy is COVID-19 exposed the fact that when education went back to the parents, it went into the hands into the laps of parents. whatever,
Jesus.
anything to find out what was going on in the school with the children or whatever.
Mhm.
And so now we are, the system says, pass them to the next grade because of COVID-19. Pass them to the next grade. If there's no evidence of anything.
Right.
So now the
Wow.
gap is
What?
wider.
Wow. People, are you hearing
No longer
this?
a gap. I call it a whole ditch.
Woo.
It's not even a gap anymore.
Absolutely.
It's a gap. You really can close the gap sometimes. But this thing, this COVID-19 really exposed the fact that we don't have the right technology,
Mm.
especially in the urban communities, to teach our children during a crisis.
But you know
We
something,
don't have the
Doc, you're so right on the money. This is Dr. Roma Benjamin, everybody. And she's an educator. And we're talking, the subject we're really talking about is coronavirus and how it has exposed the disparities in education that that are caused by systemic racism. And I wanted to have this conversation for some time because when COVID happened here in Michigan, Doc, the governor was reluctant to move forward to shut the schools down. By this time, in Southeast Michigan, especially in the Detroit area, it had already spread like wildfire. My concern, my youngest daughter is, I have two girls, and my youngest daughter was in high school. She was about to graduate, so she was already accepted to college. I was like, there is no way in hell I'm going to let her go to school to get infected and to rob her of her future. So I was
right.
one of those who was advocating for the governor to shut the schools down quickly. But see, what I didn't think about, to be honest with you, I didn't see how long the schools were going to be closed. I knew it would at least be a couple of weeks. What I didn't take into consideration, Dr. Roma, was the fact that there are a lot of parents and a lot of homes that do not have the capacity and the capability to accommodate distance learning.
Exactly.
They don't have the tools, they don't have the resources, they don't have the technology, the computer, and a common thing like access to the internet. That too is systemic
Right.
racism because over time people don't work. And what we are seeing now, what Doc is right. What COVID-19 did was continue to expose the continued disparities that exist in our society, and education is just one part of it.
Right. The COVID-19 is really strange because you're right. No one expected it to last this long. Due to the fact that even in our government, they have not followed the precautionary measures. Then you have all the conspiracy theories of whether or not it's real, and then you have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people dying. So you have to look at every ramification of this COVID-19. No one expected school to be out this long. So now that they're out this long, and you're right, it's hard to send your child to something where it would affect them in more than one way. So now that we know that, what do we do to start looking at different ways to be able to continue education inside and outside of school?
Hmm.
Because our normal way of learning is brick and mortar inside the building.
Right.
And then when everything came outside the building and we realized that there was disparity in technology and most people, a lot of people did not have internet, they didn't have laptops and iPads and whatever they needed.
Hmm.
Whether you have telephones, okay, so you use a telephone. But anyway, they
Yeah.
didn't have many ways to do this. And teachers were thrown for a loop. Principals were thrown for a loop. When I talked to some of my colleagues, they say the majority of what they did was meet. And I'm like, what do you mean for? You mean for what is to come, or you mean to try to salvage the situation that you're doing right now? Because some students, all they were told was to go home, watch a television show about education, and write about it. Okay,
Wow.
so I kid you not, I promise you that happened.
What?
So parents were upset.
Uh-huh.
But parents were upset, that they did that. Some students was given a laptop
Uh-huh.
with no instruction. So a
Huh.
lot of things took place, and this thing caught everybody by surprise. A lot of things took place, and then there were the parents
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
parents don't see this all day and all night
Mm-hmm.
and not with the child. But the strange thing is when you get to the root, I want you to hear me when I say this. When you get to the root of the average problems in our school, it's usually not behavior and it's not always mental. It, we have some of that. It's usually the fact that kids can't read. When
What?
they can't read, it becomes a problem. But I don't
Seriously?
understand why educators have not figured that out yet. Just go back to the
Hmm.
drawing board and create an environment where children are taught how to read from the earliest to high school. But the kids graduate high school. Look, we celebrate virtual high school. But if we was to do some data research on this, we would find that of the average high school, some of these high school kids are only reading on a seventh and eighth grade level. So when you go to take simple tests and all types of tests, you got
Mm-hmm.
to read at least on a ninth grade level or even higher. To get in college, it's got to be even higher. So all of this COVID-19 just really exposed the fact that education needs to be reformed. We've talked about reform, just like you said. You wrote about it, you brought out different aspects of women and civil rights and different things. But now we got to go back, we got to reform education. We have to bring in people, black, white, blue, green, yellow, and orange, that have a heart for this. Not people who only, we got to pay our bills, don't get me wrong with you. But if the only reason you're there for a paycheck, you're just as much as a criminal as somebody who's there
But
for
you know what?
respect.
I'm
I said it,
totally.
I
I
said
said
it
it. You
before.
said it. You know what? I'm with you, Doc. I'm totally with you because I've been saying this for years. Because my encounters with the educational system have found such huge disparities amongst educators, and the fact that many teachers today are just there for a paycheck. They went to college. It was the easiest degree, apparently. It was the easiest thing they could do. So they really are just interested in getting a paycheck so they can pay their mortgage. They're not interested in educating children. And as you said, part of the problem is that we're advancing children to the next grade level and they have not mastered the previous level. So a lot of people are graduating schools without being able to read. And this is not just a black problem. This is a nationwide problem. America is not a first world country anymore in terms of educating our people, right? There are students from other countries of the G7 who are far way more advanced than our students are. We lag behind in mathematics, we lag behind in science and engineering, which is why they pushed this move to create the STEM the STEM movement. But what that has done, Doc, is further alienate black students. Tell us about that too.
But it's when you were saying that, and our black students are alienated, but still, listen, we have an internet that you can basically go on there and find anything that you want to find and get any help that you want to get. What has happened, Harry, is we put the demands on the public schools to
Hmm.
do this. The public schools cannot do this alone. Homeschooling is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen some very successful homeschooling parents as well as students.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very powerful, but you don't hear much of homeschooling because people have to work two and three jobs. So
Right.
the more we talk about this, the more we realize that our kids are the ones that are pushed behind. But what we have to do is we have to collectively address this educational challenge because we can't keep putting every child, every parent, every educator in a boat and say it's going to work. It is
Hmm.
not going to work. We have to look at the development of the child and holistically from this point, we have to
Jesus.
politician the other night saying that they're going to get more money for special ed, and I want to know what is special in special ed.
You know something?
The child.
Yeah. Keep talking, because this is something. Y'all need to hear this. This is something. Yes, this is something right here. This is the thing right here. Say it one more time. I want you to say it until everybody in the penny section hear it, until every public policy maker hears. The problem is not the students. The problem is you are focused on their behavior, but you're not focusing on the methodologies to teach these kids. Say it, somebody. Oh my God. This is why I said I wasn't going to get involved in the civil rights thing. You see now why? My God. No, I'm mouthing off to myself because I am so engaged in this, because this is such a problem, because they have labeled so many Black students as problematic behaviorally, instead of looking at why the child is not functioning at the level that he should be. They haven't looked at the big problem, the big picture around that child. And I agree with you. It's not just the public school. It's a system-wide problem. It's a society that has to do it.
Right, and a lot of times, when I was teaching in the classroom, I had 8th grade students who could not read. So when I realized that they could not read, I broke the rules. Now, I know they say, whatever we're going to do, we have to be radical with it. I broke the rules.
Mm-hmm.
I taught them how to read. I wasn't concerned about the pacing guide. I was not concerned about anything. I was concerned about the fact that you made it all the way to the 8th grade.
And you can't read.
Oh,
man.
They sent him to my class because they said that I would be able to handle him because of his behavior. And I walked with him down the hall. I said, man, I read your rap sheet. You go chairs and teachers and you do all that kind of stuff. And I said, I just think that you should understand this one thing. The potential of me throwing a chair back at you doesn't exist. So I'm telling you in advance. Don't throw anything at me. Don't swing at me. Don't try to kick me. Don't cuss at me. But I'm going to work with you because I recognize what your real problem is. I said, I'm going to respect you and I need you to respect me. Got in there, I'm telling you, the God by the truth, he couldn't read. He could not read. He stayed in contact with me today. To this present day. Because I worked with him in a classroom with about 25 kids. And I had a co-teacher because I was also the lead teacher at that time and acting principal. I worked with him because he couldn't read. I had him walk through. I would do exercises with him to check for his understanding. This is what I mean about holistic, because we don't want to really dig into the fact that we can't teach every child the same, but every child has a right to learn how to read, even if they're not reading at the same pace that all of their other students and peers are reading at. They have the right to learn how to read, how to navigate in this technology world, not just play a game on the system. And not just buy the game, but be able to create the game. And I know young people who are writing books that, they're in their team. Why? Because they had parents are involved in it. They had parents that said, it's more important to me for you to learn this than for me to buy it for you to play. You can play later after you get the real basis of learning. And that's where we really have to go. I'm telling you, our country is in trouble. While we're, we want to reform the police department, and I understand that because I have a Black son, I have a biracial grandson, and I don't want to spend the rest of my days crying out to God that they should be safe when they're out there. Once my son drives for Amazon and, he's going to communities where white people don't want you to go, I don't want any of that, so I pray over him every day. We talk every day, but I want to be able to afford to give our society, my tradition, they want me to talk to them tomorrow. I think it is. And I'm going to tell them, we come out here whispering and hollering for change, but, when it comes down to going to a board meeting with the school district, y'all don't show them, but when you do, you're all being fussing, fighting, and cussing. You ought to do your research, get your statistics, get your data together.
Right.
Explain what you need, what you want, what you expect, so that changes can be made, because right now, we're not doing a good job for kids, the children to be school ready. And I'm not just talking about in the 7th and 8th grade. I'm talking about kindergarten. They're not
Right, right.
Government stumbled upon it and then he disrupted it. But we don't teach it to that extent. We say, oh, well, he didn't discover it. Somebody was here before, but you taught it wrong. It's in the hearts and minds of the children the wrong way. How do we now go back and re-educate? How
Mm,
do we go back and re-educate the educators,
mm,
re-educate the administrators and the superintendents? How
mm,
do we go back and re-educate and take a number
mm-hmm,
off of these kids? Take a standardized test number off of them
mm-hmm.
and put a realistic point on these children. Everybody has a right to read and to learn and to
Wow.
decide where they want to go in life without the European Western culture shoving it down our throats to the point, just like Jane Elliott, I've been looking up on her until she said that we've been indoctrinated and not educated. Oh my
Wow.
God. When I
Wow.
said that, she said, oh, and she said, I'm talking about.
Wow. That is
I'm
true though.
talking about that. We've been indoctrinated
Doctrinated.
instead of educated.
I think that is an excellent way to give a commentary on this. I think that that encapsulates what this educational system is all about. I grew up in the British Caribbean, and we were told there was a book that we were supposed to read. It was part of the curriculum called The Making of the West Indies. And that book was widely used. Anybody from the Caribbean who grew up around the same time that I went to school would recognize that book. That book was supposedly the record of how the Europeans conquered Africa and brought Africans to the Caribbean and to the Americas. Well, people in the Caribbean, what happens is we still had what is called oral traditions, right? So the oral history that was passed down to through blacks who had survived slavery was very different from what was written in the making of the West Indies. So the a group of West Indian countries got together, the British speaking West Indian countries got together and went to London and told them that we're not going to use this book as our standard anymore because it's incorrect. It's a wrong portrayal of what really happened in the Atlantic slave trade. And so we rebelled, literally. And that book, I think it was before I graduated high school, that book was thrown out. It was considered irrelevant and incorrect and inaccurate. I believe that something similar needs to take place here in America because there is, if my daughter, who is now, she went through the public school system, right? So she went through elementary school, kindergarten, elementary school, the whole works. And if she's now a lawyer and she can tell you she never heard about Black Wall Street and they didn't talk about the abolition of slavery, and if she wasn't taught that in school, we have a problem. America, there is a problem. There's a serious problem, and this
Right.
it's system wide. Yeah, yes, Doc, I'm hearing you.
System wide, there is a problem. System wide,
System
there
wide.
is a problem, and you have to. I'm a pastor too, and I work with people, both the spiritual and the academic, and really got to really bring those together. They got to merge because we are wholeness. We are spirit, soul, and body. We're not just a body. Like sometimes our rappers, present us as different things with fancy names in a body, but
Mm,
we're more than that. We're not just basketball players and football players. You understand?
yeah.
We're intelligent. We're intelligent. You know, um, we can think. We can work in adverse situations. Our parents and our foreparents who understand what it meant, to take care of your family with a little bit. We didn't always have a lot. So our system has to now be changed. And I always teach the scripture says that the systems of this world have to bow to the system of God.
Hmm.
And everybody right now
Right.
We got to stop cutting it down, cutting each other down,
Mm-hmm.
and look at it. We go into the system and we think that everything the system say is correct
Mm-hmm.
without questioning it.
Mm-mm.
But we
Mm-hmm.
have to question it now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have
Mm-hmm.
to ask questions. I've asked questions. When I was doing my doctorate, I asked the question, why is one of the persons on my um, committee, every time I correct something, she says that that's wrong. I said, now, is there a problem? And I didn't want to say she white because I said, I didn't want to, there is a problem that every time I correct it, they just say it's still wrong. Now, I corrected what you said was wrong and made it right. And you still say it's wrong. Now, if I didn't investigate that, had I not investigated that, the chair of my committee then requested that I get another person on my committee. So
Huh.
other than that, I said, I'm not quitting. Somebody got to give me an
God.
answer as why this is happening to me while I'm working on my dissertation, and I don't even see the person. I'm not talking to the person.
Wow.
But this is what's going on, and a lot of times, Karen, I'm sorry, our culture people, we don't
Mm.
investigate things. That's why it's time to rise up. The protests, they're good. I don't go for the rioting and all that, and sometimes those are those really cause the riot.
Mm-hmm.
But if we only go protest and then do nothing after the protest or during the protest to really look at the system and look at reform, because there's a form that exists. If you say reform, then there's a form that exists.
Right.
We're not going to look at it as a collective group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody don't have to be black. It just has to be right. Or like the scripture would say, righteous. Because when righteousness is in the earth, we survive.
Mm-hmm.
When it doesn't, we're not going to make it.
But
We have to
you
collectively do this.
you're absolutely right. I'm remembering, like I said, I grew up in the Caribbean, and at the time when I grew up, there's a reggae singer called Bob Marley, and at the time when I grew up, he was considered anti-establishment, and he was not the kind of music you were supposed to support because he was anti-establishment. Well, I grew up, and then I started listening to Bob Marley on my own. You know, one of the things he said. He said, until the philosophy that holds one race superior and another inferior, until that philosophy is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned, everywhere there is war. That's direct quote. That those are the words of the song. The song is called War. You can go look it up. But while you were speaking, there is something else that he said. He said, if you don't know your history and you don't know where you're coming from, how will you know where you're going? If our history
Right.
is not taught in schools, if our history, Dr. Roma, is not something that a child growing up in my black skin can relate to, and your black skin, if he can't see himself embodied on the pages of the book, how will he know he can conquer? How will he know he can overcome? One thing I'll say about what Northern Europeans and white Europeans is this: they have kept a very good record of what they have done. My children and I refer to it like this. We say the conquerors, the winners write history. Am I correct? Right? We say that. We say the winners write history.
Okay.
The conquerors write history.
Wow.
So they wrote the history. So their generations after them grow up thinking that, well, I am the conqueror. I am the oppressor. I can do. If our children don't see themselves written in history, this is why the history of Malcolm X and the history of Martin Luther King is important. And Harriet Tubman, after whom my mother named me, don't blame her. But if that is not perpetuated, if that is not embodied in a black mind and in a young black skin, how will he know that he can grow up and be an engineer and an astronaut? Some of the brightest minds I've ever come across are black kids. Have you ever talked to black people young black men who just got out of jail or who are on their way to jail? They're selling drugs on the street. I used to ask this question when I encounter them. Do you realize you could go get a degree in supply chain management? I said, do you realize that's what you're doing out here? What you're doing, you have the drug trade. I said, this is just another form of commerce. I said, but guess what the white man does? He understands that. So he has suppressed you into not realizing the gift that you have of managing people, managing resources, and distributing resources. Come on now, Doc, help me out here. You are perfectly on the money. I pray to God that you have many more years to educate all of us, not just black minds, because you're doing an excellent job of engaging all of us in the fight. I wish you pick up a microphone tomorrow and tell those who are marching that after the march, because there is reform, that means there's a form and we need to reform the form. Come on, Doc. I love you. Woo! You have empowered me today. Whoa! Give her a shout out. You have say it one more time in your own words. You said it. You said if there is reform, that means there's a form that we have to reform. Lord have mercy. Whoa! That's a direct quote.
There's a form. It doesn't.
Wow.
That's why I said, we just can't talk about it, and then we cannot just give it a new name. We
Mm.
can't give it a new name and do the same thing. Because there have been times that I've been looking, I've been reading, I haven't written a book yet. I plan on writing a book, but I haven't written a book yet. But when I look at, different books that have been written and I read them and I read what people have tried to do, it's almost as if you tried to do the same thing and you just gave it a different name.
Mm-hmm.
So, how do we really look at it?
Right.
We don't want to rename it. You got to
Mm-hmm.
name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's just put it this way. Just like now, you change the name of Aunt Jemima and the pancake box.
Right, but it's the same thing.
Why she was on there. They didn't know to get your Uncle Beard. I think somebody else is changing something. And somebody made the statement, which is very powerful. You can change the name or anything you want to change. But if the heart is not right, all we did was just change the name. So if you really mean well, then let's give. Let's give into the college. Let's give into the college. Let's make our historically black colleges better. Because without getting some out of the historically black colleges, they don't read well either. You
Yeah.
understand?
Yep.
There's
Yep.
some that is designed, we're destroying ourselves more technically, Harry, than the system is destroying us. Because we don't ask the questions. We get the free money and we run from it. I think parents would rather buy new pair of sneakers and for their kids than to invest in a quality program of reading for them to up their reading. I'm developing right now for 5 boys. They're first school. A summer program for them for 5 weeks. And I'm challenging the parents when I'm online with your son, get online with me. Because you don't have a clue why they're struggling. They're in the 7th and 8th grade, but they read them like a 3rd and 4th grader. And you
Wow.
don't know why they read them. You have the information. They put it in black and white that they read them that level. And all you do is accept it. I'm
Yeah.
challenging the parents. I said, I need you for at least 10 years. I
Mm-hmm.
need you to come on
Mm-hmm.
and engage so that
Mm-hmm.
you can stop beating your child upside the head and thinking that they're not going to make it so you
Mm-hmm.
can find out what their problem is,
Mm-hmm.
what is going on, and then you can become part of their solution as well. But that's what it is, Harry. We have to come up with options and solutions
Mm-hmm.
and different things holistically. Not,
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
I'm for police reform, but listen, if we not gonna reform the folks in the streets as well, you can't
Yeah,
destroy
might
them
as
for that.
well.
And
Right.
then we're gonna be a society out of control. You
Wow.
understand what I mean? I
Yeah.
want my stuff in my house when I come back home.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You
I
know,
mean,
Doc.
I put my car in my driveway
Right.
when I put and to be safe in my driveway. You understand?
Yep.
We have to really go back to this and we have to America needs to be re-educated. All
Mm.
this hate and all this pain because we didn't take time to read. We didn't take time to investigate. They said you want to keep a black man down, keep him out. You want to keep the misinformed, then put it in a book.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Well,
And on that
our
note,
president might be in that category too, but he's not reading either.
my word.
We need people to go into more governmental positions,
Mm-hmm.
not just voting, but get information. What do I need to do to run? Who do I connect to?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of 5, we're gonna have 5 black people run for mayor. How about 1 run for mayor and everybody get with them and push them if we want to really make change? I told you I heard a politician say yesterday to a group of black people, well, we're gonna put more money into special education, and I did the best I could to fight from beating them up. I didn't really want to beat them up because he was talking to all parents and next to them just double. And I'm like, what is special about special
Special
education? Why
education.
put more
Yeah.
money into special education?
Right.
Because
But
that's where they put all our kids.
right. Right. You see,
You
but
understand?
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
trying to label them, and it's hard to get that label off of
All.
them.
Yeah, absolutely.
We really have to rethink this thing. We got to
Yep.
re-educate this thing. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to take some time. We're gonna have to during this coronavirus thing.
Mm-hmm.
Really, like I'm saying, I'm trying to inundate myself
Mm-hmm.
with the material and reading, so
Mm-hmm.
that my heart changed,
Right.
my heart shifts.
Thank you, Doc.
God really called me.
So can I ask you?
I have a voice.
Yes, and use your voice. Yes. Yes. Absolutely. So, Doc, this is. I only have a few more minutes. I have less than 2 minutes. I want you to take us to how we've talked extensively about the distance learning capabilities that the coronavirus exposed, but your final word, what's the final thought that you want us to take away from all that you have said? And you've given us so much. I'm going to have to listen to this again because there were so many bullet points in here and so many nuggets. When I'm done, I want you to share this with everybody on your Facebook page. They need to hear what you have to say. But what is it that you want us today on Juneteenth? What you want us to take away from all of this?
I really want us as a people not to just celebrate being free, because freedom is not free.
Mm.
Just get happy.
Did you just hear the B organ right there? Right.
Freedom is not free.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to get in here, and we're going to have to work collectively as a group of people who are mature enough to understand we're not only going to be free, but we must understand we've got to make change. The change can't just be talking. It can't just be protesting. Black Lives Matter, yes. All lives matter, yes. Because Black lives are left out of the word all. Let's do this as a collective group. Stop the fighting and bickering amongst one another, and really get into a place that we're praying, giving the heart of God, so that we can re-educate America. We gotta re-educate.
Wow. I love it. Guys.
I'm not talking about that.
Wow.
That is make America great again. America, look, I don't know what part was great was it, but we need to re-educate America.
Wow.
And Trump did not say that, I did. We need to re-educate America.
In the words of Dr. Benjamin, in the words of Dr. Roma, we need to re-educate America on this Juneteenth. We need to re-educate America. There have been so many good parts to this. Thank you, Dr. Roma, for taking time out this morning. I know you're busy. I know you have a lot going on, and your community is expecting you to pour into them. I pray that you will be poured into. And please share this information with everybody, because everyone needs to hear what you have to say. And this is important to the folks who are in the street. Yes, we want change, and change is going to come. But we want to be the architects of that change. We want to be engaged in that change so that the generations after us can have something tangible. And we still want to see the kind of change where young Black boys and young Black girls see themselves embodied in the architecture of America. Not just Europeans, not just European statues, not just European birthdays. Martin Luther King's day needs to be the day. Come on now. We need Juneteenth needs to be a national holiday. Thank you, Doc. Thank you so much for stopping by on Down to Earth. Thank you so much. And for more information on you, Doc, where can people find you? Are you on Facebook? Do you have a website so we can?
I'm on Facebook. And I probably have to text you my website so that they don't miss. It's just simply www.romabenjaminministry.org.
That's it. Okay, just put it on my Facebook page, ministries.org. RomaBenjaminMinistries.org. For more information on Dr. Benjamin, if you need her to come and speak somewhere, if you just need her to pour into you, look her up on social media. I'm on social media. Tag me, whatever you do going forward, because we're going to have this conversation. Thanks, Doc, so much. Happy Juneteenth, by the way.
Request me, Harry, so I can have you on my Facebook page.
Okay, sure. Say hello to your son and your grandson, right? We're standing in the gap for them because we had an incident over here with an Amazon driver who was accosted in a white neighborhood. So I get that totally. Be blessed, everybody. Thanks so much, everybody, it's been Friday, right? Juneteenth. Thank you to all of you who have studied with us and who have stayed with us. Thank you to our friends in the white community as well. We still have white friends. They get it. They still want to talk to us. They're trying to understand their role in this change dynamic, this new way of thinking in America. As Dr. Benjamin said, we need to re-educate America. I think it's very important that we understand that though the form exists, in her words, reform needs to take place. So we need to reform the form. We need to change it so that all of us are reflected in the architecture of America. We all have a role to play. We have all played our role. And I just expect that as we go forward today, I just feel optimistic after talking to her. Wow. I just suddenly feel like change is a positive thing. And to those who are policymakers and those involved in public policy, as Dr. Benjamin said, we need to stop pouring money into special education, because all you're doing is just labeling children forever. We need to find out and to tear it up from the bottom up, where children are not learning to read, but we are advancing them. Therefore, by the time they get to the 7th and 8th grade, it's a problem, right? Thanks so much, everybody. This is Harriet Kemick with Down to Earth. Have a good weekend, and we will see you on Sunday morning as we talk about faith and its impact on our lives. Thank you so much. For more information, go to my website, harrietkemick.com, as well as visit my pages on Anchor FM, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Thanks so much for staying with me this morning. Happy Friday. Be blessed, everybody.